I thought it'd be worth taking a look at another of these LED lamps from eBay because I think they're an endangered species now. It's the style that was popular for a while that had the really chunky, heavy heat sinks. And when you consider that the bit that's going to fail is the little power supply module, which is almost certainly in here where this bit of wire is sticking out, or one of the LEDs is potentially going to fail, then it's wasteful because when people finish them, they'll just throw the whole thing away. So this is described in many of the listings as, in this particular case, warm white PAR30 high power LED office spotlight lamp bulb energy saving 7 watt, just that whole list of keywords. The interesting thing about this one is it's got 7 LEDs. Quite often they'll claim it's 3 times the power. They'll say they're 3 watt LEDs. In this case they're saying it's 7 watt LEDs. Let me just bring the hoppy in and we'll test that. So I shall screw it in. And the hoppy says 6.7 watts, which is close enough to the 7 watts. Power factor of just over 0.5, pretty much what you'd expect off these. The light output is very, very spotty. It's designed as a spotlight. It's designed to replace the traditional PAR30 type spot. I should mention PAR30, which this is based on, means parabolic aluminized reflector, and the 30, I'll just put this stuff out the way. The 30 is the diameter in 1/8 of an inch. So if I get a measuring tape, this should be roughly about 3.75-ish. Yeah, just under 3.75. So I've seen these available. If you do a search online for 7 watt PAR30 LED, you'll find them. But I've seen them in cold white, warm white, and the hydroponic colours. You can get them in red and you can get them in blue, but they seem to be sort of reducing the quantity of them just because you can't really compete with the huge panels that are available for that application now. So let's open it. That's what we're going to do. I can guess that there's going to be a circuit board in here with the sandwiched against the back of this aluminium heatsink. When I undo these 3 screws, all these loose lenses are going to pop out. And this is where it's quite good because if it does that, and it is the standard 1 watt chips, then the potential there is to make custom lamps with whatever colour combination you want in them. If you want a turquoise lamp, you could mix green and blue chips, because I'd guess they'd all be in series. I could be wrong. And all the lenses drop out. And we're in. Like Flynn, as Dave would say. Is the heatsink compound. The heatsink compound is wet and squishy, so the circuit board is effectively loose in here. Can I just squish that round? Yes, it is loose. So it's being held in place by these lenses being pressed down by that cover. This is quite common. And the wires, the white and the pink wire, are coming through from the back. I'm kind of regretting poking my screwdriver into that stuff now. Let me just grab something to wipe that down. He said, grabbing a... No, I don't have anything to wipe it down. Well, I shall just... one moment, please. And we're back in action. So, quite easy. You could take the circuit board out. You could change these LEDs to anything you wanted. It does look like the standard 1 watt LEDs. You could put 3 watt ones in if you wanted for extra strength. So what I'm guessing is going to be in here is going to be one of these generic... I'm just going to check that now, that they are all in series. Yep, the pink wire goes over to that one, goes through that one, goes down to that one, then goes through them all in a circle, and then comes back to the white wire. They are all in series, so that'll be a 350 milliamp power supply in here that puts out up to about 24 volts probably to drive those chips. And it's going to be based probably, I'm just making wild guesses here, on a classic bright power chip. Oh, it's nice they've actually put the Kapton tape round it, not just left it rattling loose. Let's undo this tape. These little power supplies, after you've seen a few of them, they're all just textbook. They're just the same thing time after time. It's because they've been optimised down to the minimum component count. The Kapton tape is not coming off. It's kind of stuck onto itself. They have closed it onto itself. Look at it, or have they? Maybe not. No, it's just I'm not making enough effort to unwrap it, apparently. So this is going to get hot. Maybe I should power it up and check. Oh, it's just so stereotypical. It's so stereotypical. I mean, we could take a look down. You can see it's got the main supply going in, bridge rectifier, smoothing capacitor, which is rated 4.7 megafarad, 400 volt. Then we get that little chip that's almost certainly a bright power. I mean, it's not guaranteed to be a bright power. It's a bright power. BP9022A. I don't know if you're going to see that. I shall move it up and down randomly, just so at some point it probably does come into focus. And that is then just all you need. The output is a diode, and then there's usually just a tiny little capacitor. There it is under there, just for the smoothing, and it is the absolute minimalist you could get. And the bright power are sort of fairly famous for being that minimalist approach. You've got current sense resistors, which set the sort of current in the windings as such, and that determines, I'm guessing, the output current in the secondary side. 1.2 ohm is the sense resistor. There's also a 62K, which is I seem to recall that is used for some function to detect either open circuit or short circuit conditions. It's a sort of a threshold sort of level you set. I don't see any snubber network. I do see a little capacitor, but that's possibly just a little power supply capacitor. But it's really what you'd expect. So these are hackable. You could use this existing power supply. You could repopulate that with your own choice of LEDs. The module, the little power supply module in the back, if it fails, you can get these little modules and replace it. I would recommend just make sure you get the isolated module, just for electrical separation, given that it's got this metal housing. I am getting reports from various people in the facilities management industry that a few people now have had significant electric shocks when they've been screwing lamps like this in. Not necessarily this particular one, but the metal-bodied lamps, they've been screwing them in while holding on to like a metal... oh, look at all the swarf that came out of that. But holding on to sort of metal, maybe ceiling supports or tiles, and they've actually had a shock off the lamp housing. So if you are putting these lamps in live, I'd recommend at the very least wearing a pair of dryish cotton gloves or some breathable insulated glove, just a precaution, just because, well, you just never know. But there we go. It's pretty much as predicted. It's a fairly typical device. It's just, you know, just a generic LED lamp of that style. And the modern ones seem to be going for the super flimsy, really sharp aluminium to save. And this one looks like, almost like, is it machined? It does have this slight circular pattern in there that does suggest it's been milled out from the actual casting. But it's smart. I do like this. And you should always remember that, you know, these are completely serviceable for people like us. We can put new LEDs in them and power supplies, so we can extend their life and get some use out of them. But that's it. The interesting PAR30 LED lamp.